All right. Good morning. Good morning, guys. How's everyone doing? Welcome. Welcome to another stream. Monday, first day of October. October 3rd. Yeah, oil's up nicely today. Crude is up. You guys see, we'll talk about the XLE today. XLE is holding that key 70-71 level. It's a pretty key demand level that's holding once again today. Checo P1. Yeah, that was awesome. Good race from Checo. Definitely. Morning from Malaysia. Morning. Giants. Yep, Giants win. Hopefully Daniel Jones is okay. Hopefully his ankle's all right. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a believer in Daniel Jones still. I just don't. When you when I was talking to my cousin, it's either, there's Daniel Jones is in the tier of quarterbacks where you really need something substantially better to make it worth it. So like over Daniel Jones, I wouldn't take Kirk Cousins or that tier of quarterback. If I'm gonna ask for someone else, it's gonna have to be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady. Maybe he's a little old, but I think Daniel Jones has it. They just need to build a better team around him. But so far, so good. Yeah, Quentin, that's really bad. Really bad. Mets got swept by the Braves. This is classic Mets. Mets, they don't know how to play good near the postseason. But yeah, Quentin, crazy, man. I was not happy about that. No, what I'm saying is, if I'm going to get a new quarterback on the Giants, it's not going to be another mid-tier quarterback. So why not run with DJ? Anyways, we don't have to talk about. Maybe I'll start a NFL fantasy channel. No. All right, so let's get started. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed your Saturday, your Sunday. Sunday, a little bit of football, a little bit of a little F1 race. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So let's go ahead and start the week. Yeah, what a crazy Mets, man. That's got to be the most disappointing for me this week was the Mets sweep from the Braves. Crazy. All right, so today is the 3rd. Today we're going to talk about the economic and earnings calendar. Let me go ahead and pull up that economic calendar real quick. Definitely some things to watch. There was some pretty major news last week, which we didn't really see much off of. We got some downside off of it, but nothing wild. This week, S&P, U.S. manufacturing PMI. This should be interesting. This is at 9:45, so this is about 15 minutes after market open. So let's watch that. Manufacturing index, construction spending. Excuse me. So let's keep an eye on that. That is this morning. Tomorrow, job openings, job quits. We have some more Fed presidents speaking. Wednesday, employment report, services PMI, some more Fed presidents. Thursday, jobless claims. That's normal stuff. I wouldn't expect much off that. And then on Friday, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, average hourly earnings. So nothing out of the ordinary today or this week on the economic calendar. The normal stuff. The Friday payrolls, the Thursday jobless claims, some PMI numbers. Nothing wild to watch out for. I think what is that? I did see that the emergency meeting. That's today, supposedly. A closed meeting from starting at 11:30. So just I'm not sure how we'll just keep that on your, maybe jot that down, guys. Put a reminder in your phone or something. There will be a emergency closed meeting for the Federal Reserve here at 11:30. So thanks for the reminder there. Here it is right here on the Fed website. So it is anticipated that a closed meeting of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System at 11:30 a.m. Monday, October 3rd will be held under expedited procedures. So So the matters to be considered: the review and determination by the Board of Governors of the advance and discount rates to be changed by the Federal Reserve Bank. So that could definitely throw a little monkey wrench in the day. So just have that as a reminder. If you're in a trade around 11:30, just be careful. There might be some volatility that starts to come in. So right here, right? Review and determination by the Board of Governors of the advance and discount rates to be changed by the Federal Reserve Banks. So just watch out for that. 11:30. Yeah, this is my invitation. I'm invited to this one. No, I wish. Actually, I don't know if I wish. But yeah, guys, so that's that. 11:30 today, emergency meeting. Thanks for the reminder. And then everything else, pretty much status quo on the economic side. All right. Tesla delivery numbers. That is definitely something we're going to be looking at today. We saw some downside on Tesla. We'll look at some key levels. I'll show you guys what I'm watching there. Apple 130. This is where I think Apple needs to come back down to. So watch for that. AMD weekly chart. I want to show you guys this weekly chart again on AMD. I think AMD has more downside here. Nvidia 120. I have to watch this level today on Nvidia. It's been holding 120. It's like a triple bottom right now, and this should be watched. Amazon sitting at its channel low this morning and finding some support off of it. And then PayPal, the break and retest we talked about, was very clean. It occurred. It happened. And I'm going to look to see if there's any more downside there on PayPal. I'll pull up 3 ETFs, which I think should be in focus right now. It's the XLE, the XLF, and the XLP. This is financials, this is energy, and this is consumer staples. One of those ETFs has broken down substantially below a key level. One is a little bit of consolidation below a key level, and one of them is holding a key level. So you can probably guess which one's holding a key level by looking at what's green in the pre-market today, and we will talk about that. And then finally, we'll get to the tickers that you guys want to look at. So that's the schedule for today. I'm going to go ahead and quickly clean up the ticker form for you guys to submit the tickers that you want to look at. And then we will get started here. So once again, I hope everyone had a good weekend. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we go. NASDAQ. So here's sort of what I'm watching. If I go back a few years, let's just go to 2020. Here's this little level that I'm focusing on today. It's back here from, this is back in October, November, and then August of 2020. And then you had a rejection right here in July. This is right around this 10,950. It's a little bit of a zone, of course, but right anywhere between this 10,950 and this little 10,800 area, you guys can see right here, we had a rejection, right? We had a support come in. We had support come in here, and then we had a bounce right here, right? So we had a little bit of a triple bottom here back in 2020. You can see right there, very clear, and this is where we eventually moved off up to the upside. So this little area here is interesting to me. It's a rejection, it's a support, it's a support, it's a support. Triple bottom support, previous rejection. That's definitely an important level on the market. And this is 10,950 to 10,800. And if I sort of drag this over to where we are now, and I put that line there from back in 2020, let's go ahead and zoom in to where we're at now on this line. So you can see we are right there. So this is something I'm definitely watching today. Does this triple bottom from back in 2020, you guys can see right here that we just looked at, we're sitting right at it. So if we lose this level, I think there's going to be substantially more downside if we lose it. Or is there a possibility of maybe some type of measured move back to the upside? Not saying we go anywhere significant, but is there some type of measured move to the upside? Like, do we get, let's say, this was 21%, this downside move was 20%. Do we get a channel, maybe, one of these and then one of these? So I'm just sort of preparing myself for, watching some of these levels. I'm not for sure whether, that happens. It's still very early this week. It's Monday. We have to see. But I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to see how the market builds off this level. I think this is an important area. So if I zoom back into this level, this is back in 2020. You guys can see we had a previous support, a previous support, a previous support, which was a double top rejection, right? And if I just drag this over that exact same level to where we are today, you can see we're sitting right at it. So just going to focus on this a little bit. I'm not saying that we're going to see some type of crazy upside off of it. I'm not, buying calls off of it. I'm not entering swing trade positions that thinking that we're going to move, 20% to the upside. But I'm going to just be a little bit cautious of us in that area, just to be aware of it. All right, so that's the first thing I'm watching. Now, the second thing I'm watching is, this is a little bit more of the bearish side, and this is a retest of the previous lows back around this 11,100, maybe around this 11,150, maybe around this 11,200. So we have the previous lows here from last week. Let's just call it right here, 11,100 to 11,150. If we bounce into this area, right, and reject, right, that is a break and retest to the downside, and that is bearish. So I am cautious of that as well. If we come back into the previous lows of last week, right here, this is a previous low of last week. If we have a previous low of last week here, if we bounce into those levels, right, which we're doing right now, if we bounce into these levels, start to show rejections, and start to move back to the downside, that is definitely a area to watch out for, right? So keep an eye on this 11,100, 11,150 area on the short term. If we come up into this level and reject, this could be a very nice rejection point. This is a break and retest to the downside. So watch out for that. All right. So those are my two major watches. This 11,940, 11,950, this whole area down here, watching out for if it holds down there, and then seeing if the market pushes into last week's lows, what occurs in this zone right here, around 11,100, 11,150. So here's sort of the channel that I'm watching right now on the NASDAQ. I would definitely have those levels on your chart. All right. S&P. If we go to the daily chart, I'm going to show you pretty much the exact same analysis. Is that the 200 SMA? I'm not even using the SMA there. Let me see. I might have missed that. Let me go ahead and pop that on real quick. I might have missed that one. Let me see. So I don't think so. No, 200 SMA is all the way up here. Let me throw it on. Is it on the weekly chart? Let me throw that on the weekly chart. I don't believe that's the 200. Okay, so I mean it's close to it on the weekly chart. Yeah, it's the weekly 200. Pretty damn close to it. Yeah. Yeah, it's under it. I mean, we're under it right now. Right? We're under it. So we could watch that. You could keep an eye on that for sure. That's on, okay, it's on the ES. Right? Look at the ES. Look at the ES. The ES is right at the 200 on the weekly. So yeah, you could keep eyes on that. Definitely. It's another little thing to watch in your bag of tricks. So yeah, watch that 200 SMA on the ES. Definitely sitting right at it. You guys can see right here. Look at that. Good call out, guys. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. That's why this is a team effort here. But yeah, very nice call. Yeah, 200 SMA on the ES there. Definitely watch that. So here, let me go ahead and do the analysis that I was doing. I didn't have the 200 SMA involved, but that is definitely something to watch. Let's go ahead and do that same sort of analysis we did on the NASDAQ and take a look at the daily chart here and sort of look at the levels from back in 2020. So you guys can see back in 2020, we had a previous high here. We had a previous support here. And you could call this a little bit of a rejection. It's a little bit sloppy because it just went up straight back down. But I would say it's right around this 35.40 3550 area is probably the area that I would watch, anywhere between 3540, 3550. If I draw ourselves a little box in that area between 50 and 40, that's right in this general area. If I draw myself that box back from these previous rejections and support levels, similar to what we did on the NASDAQ, and I zoom into where we are today, you guys can see that we're pretty damn close to it. We didn't quite tap it like we did on the NASDAQ, but we are pretty damn close to that exact same July, September, November level from back in 2020, which is the same thing we just looked at on the NASDAQ. So, yeah, I would watch these areas, 3540, 3550. If we break down to the 15-minute chart on the ES, here's the other thing that I am watching for short-term rejections, and that is a rejection at the previous lows. So right around here, you can see the previous low of last week. Here's another one, previous low of last week, right around the 36.15. So are we going to push up and are we going to reject this area, this previous low of last week right here, previous low, previous low? We're sitting at it right now. You can see we're finding, a little bit of a rejection there as we speak. So is the ES going to be able to reclaim some of the last week's lows? That's going to be something that's pretty important to watch. Or are we just going to sort of break and retest here? Right, you guys can see right here. Are we just going to break and retest, turn these previous lows into rejection points, and see another downside move off this previous low? So I'm sort of watching this 3630, 3620 area right up in here. You guys can see we had a previous low right here, and we have a potential rejection coming in as we speak. So watching this previous low of last week, 3630, 3620, all in this general area on the ES. I would say probably put it above it, just like that. So that's my short-term watch, seeing if we reject off these previous lows of last week. And then the longer-term watch is what happens at the major levels back here in 2020. And then you also have that 200 SMA on the weekly. So it's early, right? It's early. It's Monday morning. We need to still get a lot more data to sort of get confident on these levels. But those are sort of, that's definitely sort of what I'm watching as we speak. All right. The Dow is looking like a potential break and retest, but pretty much the same thing. You guys can see here. This is a previous low of last week. You can see right there, this right around this 29,050 level. And so I'm going to be watching to see, does it break and retest, right? Break, retest, and reject. Are we going to see that today? That's definitely something to watch out for. Right here around this 29,060. I did not go back to the daily chart on the Dow here yet today, so you're going to be looking at this with me first time. Let's see where we're at. So we are back at, pretty much that same July, what is this? September, November high. You guys can see right here. This 28,830. If we zoom in on this level, you can see this is the same exact time frame that we were looking at on the ES and NASDAQ. So right here, you have a previous rejection, support that ended up moving the market higher. And if we drag that line over, let's go ahead and zoom in. If you drag that zone over to the right, you can see it's pretty much the exact same type of level. Look, so we drag that box over, we're sitting right in it. So that's basically what I'm watching across all the futures, guys. I'm watching that 2022 level from around November and September on both the NASDAQ, ES, and the Dow. And then I'm watching what happens at the previous week lows. That's pretty much all I'm watching across the entire futures, all the futures today. Previous week lows, September and November 2020 levels on the NASDAQ, and then the exact same thing on the ES. Previous week lows. Do we reject it here, which we're starting to see? And then when we zoom out, watching that September, November area on the market. All right. That's my original read. That's my early week read on the NASDAQ, on the ES, and on the Dow. Early, again, we need to see how the market reacts today. It'll probably give us a little bit more insight. and then we can start to sort of build a plan off of some of the price action that we get today. Los Franklin, thank you. Coffee money, thank you, man. Appreciate that. That will go to good use, my friend. Thank you very much. All right, guys, so make sure to have those levels on your screen. 35.40 on ES. Watch the 36.30 to the upside. On the downside on the NASDAQ, it's around this 10.940, 10.950 with 11.100 on the upside on watch. And then on the Dow, it's around this 28.830 level, these previous levels back in September and November. And then you're watching that retest last week lows around 29.60. All right, so that's that. Let's go ahead and jump into Tesla. So Tesla, I've been sort of talking about Tesla back at 260, and we fell right below that level this morning on the delivery numbers from Tesla. So I was saying I think Tesla needs to come back to 260. That is this previous high, this previous high, this previous high, and this previous support. I wanted to see us come back to that 260 and see if there was anything off of it. Now, however, what you guys can see this morning is that we fell right under that 260 level from the delivery numbers. So I would need to see Tesla regain this 260 before even thinking about playing any upside here, right? I need to see us get back over. If I go to this 4-hour chart, I need to see us get strongly back over this previous rejection area. You can see rejection, rejection, rejection. I need to see us get back above that 260, turn that into support once again, and then maybe we could get something back to the upside if there's any strength on the market, of course. However, on the flip side, what could you be looking for downside today? First of all, yes, the 260 retest, that could be fantastic. If we could get a push back into 260 today, if we could start to see some rejections at 260, that could be a fantastic trade opportunity. Pushing back into that 260, starting to reject it, right? Turning these previous 4-hour rejection points into a rejection again. That could be an awesome rejection point, right? If we can push back into this area, right? If we can push back into this area and we can see a rejection there, that could be a great trade. So watch for that, the 260 rejection, if we push back into it. To the downside, it's a little bit sloppy, I will say, but I'm thinking the 250. That's what I'm thinking right now. The 250, you have a rejection here, you have a rejection here, you have a rejection here, and it's also a pretty psych level around the 250. So I'm going to say 250 to 260 is your watch here today. 250 lows, 260 highs. If we can get below the 250, right, you can see it's already sort of respecting it this morning. If you can see this, break 250, turn it into rejection, then I think you got yourself a very nice downside move with continuation from those delivery numbers. If you see a hold of 250, just watch out for the potential demand that could step in there, right? If you see a push out of the gates into 260, watch for that rejection at 260, right? And then if you get a push over 260 today and you turn it into a support, then I would see if you could play the gap fill. So there's 4 potential plays on Tesla here, in my opinion. There's either the 250 hold and you try to play that thing back into the upside channel, right? But you can't marry this move, right? Because this move, this option here, where you're pushing off 250 could easily reject once again. The second option would be a break under 250, a retest of it, and a rejection. The third option would be just straight upside out of the gates, look for that rejection of 260. And the fourth option would be a break of 260, a retest hold of 260, and then maybe there's some opportunity to the upside off that. So I'm going to be watching all of these possibilities today on Tesla. I'm going to be mostly focused on how the market's reacting, NASDAQ, ES, and I think that'll sort of give me an idea of which of these options is most likely to happen. I need to see what happens on the NASDAQ. If the NASDAQ just dies today and we move lower, we continue, then I love the opportunity of a 250 break and retest to the downside. If we see market upside, then you might be able to play something off 250 today on Tesla. You can see it's starting to try to form that support there around 250. So That's what I would watch. 250. If you break that, if you reject it, move to the downside. If you get the 250 push out of the open, then watch out for that 260. All right. Apple. So Apple, I don't think there's support on Apple until 130, guys. And that sort of pains me to say because I'm a pretty big Apple shareholder. I guess big in my own regard, but not big in the grand scheme of things. But I don't really think Apple holds until this low here. I just don't see it, right? You don't really see much of a support in this area until I think around 130. So maybe there's something in this 138 area, 137. I'll go ahead and go down to the 4-hour chart. So here's the 4-hour on Apple. And maybe, just maybe, there's something going on in this general area on Apple. You guys can see we had some previous lows here. You had some previous rejection points here. And you have some support that came in right there. So I could see the 137 level as a short-term little level to watch out for. You can see we had some previous lows. We had a previous rejection. We had another previous support around this 137. So we could see something off that. And you can see this morning, we're already starting to see a little hold at that 137 area. Definitely something to watch. But if this market does move lower, if we get the larger pullback on the market, then I really don't see how it holds until this low right here, which is around 130. So just watch out for that. 137 today on Apple could be your area to find some short-term support. You can see there's been some short-term support in the past. If we get a larger move to the downside, then I'm watching that 130 area. I would be interested to play off the 130. This would be a very nice, I think, opportunity on Apple back at 130 here. This could be a nice little area to potentially play demand bounce. So 130 I'm watching on Apple, and then 137, which is some of these previous lows. This is back in May and back in July of this year. All right, so that's what I'm watching on Apple. AMD. So AMD, I'm still sort of stuck on this weekly chart. I really don't see how AMD holds up here until 59.60 area. So here's why I say that. If I go to AMD, if we go to the weekly chart, let's go ahead and zoom in over to the weekly chart from back in. This is back in, what is this? 2020. This is basically all of 2020. This is February. This is April. This is June. This is July. And then on earnings in July, they got that huge push to the upside. But what you guys can see, all of basically the first half of 2020, we rejected this 59.60 level multiple times. And we moved basically straight up after that. So if I go ahead and look over to where we are now, we are sitting right in this straight up move on AMD. We're sitting at 63 right now, which is basically no man's land, in my opinion, for AMD. So I believe that AMD should try to come back down to these previous highs, maybe, and then try to hold that previous high area, maybe try to find some support down here before finding any type of bounce. So I'm thinking 59, 58, 60 area on AMD. I still think there's more downside here. I will be watching this. If the market is weak, this is definitely one that I'll be looking at for downside. I don't see how there's much support in this area. I'll go to the daily chart. There is just nothing, right? So if I go ahead and go to the daily chart so we can see this a little bit more detail. If I zoom into any of the moves over 59.60, look at this price action, right? So you have just a gap up, basically just straight up, nothing that's going to hold up a market. This is not good market structure right here. So if I zoom over to where we are now, you guys can see we are sitting, or take a little bit, we're sitting right in there, right? So it's in my belief as of right now that AMD should try to come back down to this high, to this high, to this high, and try to see, does it hold at this zone, this previous low? And that is down at 58.59. So that's what I'll be watching this week. If we see market weakness, I like AMD down into that 58.59. All right. Not much meat left on the bones there. Just be aware of that. You know, it's pretty damn close. So if anything, it's just a short-term trade back into that 60. All right, Nvidia. So Nvidia, I didn't do this longer-term analysis yet, but let's go ahead and do it now. Where are these lows? Because these are getting awfully close. Yeah, we're sitting like right at it. This 120 low, look at this. So Nvidia, if we go back to, what is this? This is back in 2020, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, 2020. You had 120, right? All here. You had 120 here, all right? And you had that low get built in the 120 area. You guys can see all in here, 120 lows were built back in 2020. Reject or support, 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 and support off 120. And if we zoom over to where we are today, if I go ahead and draw that box out, you can see, you can see that we are sitting right at it. We are sitting right at that low back from 2020. Weekly chart? Yeah, I mean, you can see it on the weekly as well, right? So weekly low, you can see that on Nvidia right there, right? Big time weekly low on Nvidia, and you're sitting right at it. So this is a huge level for Nvidia. This is very important for it. And we can see that as of right now, you are trying, I think, your best to hold this 120, right? You're trying your best to hold this 120, 118 area, that weekly low from back in 2020. So this is definitely a big area to watch on Nvidia. If you start slipping through these levels, right, you are going to see some substantial downside, I think, because that is a very major break, right? Look at what Nvidia did before that. If you break this little shelf here, right here, you can see a shelf that formed around this 118, 120. If you break this shelf, right, there's not much here. So definitely watch this today or this week, guys. 120, 118. Watch this weekly low that's coming in right now. So that's crazy. Keep eyes on that. There might, right? Don't, you know, you got to remember, right? We've been down 3, 6, 7 weeks in a row, right? So is there opportunity for these little demand bounces off these major levels? Yeah, I think there is. Maybe we still trend to the downside and we eventually break it. But I'm going to be sort of objective to either direction here, because if we do see some type of bounce off this weekly low, this could definitely be a nice opportunity for, you know, a little bit of a bounce off that weekly low. So I'm going to be watching both sides. All right, Amazon on the 30-minute chart, and this is the same channel that we talked about last week, and we are still within that channel. So here's Amazon. You guys can see the reaction that we're getting off the weekly low. You guys can see support, support, and support once again, right around this $112 level. So you have 112 here, you have 112 here, and you have 112 once again in the pre-market. And you can see the reaction off of that 112. So again, this is just a channel trade. It's really not the best thing to be trading. You know, is there maybe a demand hold down here at 112? Yeah, possibly. Is there possible opportunity to the upside off this 112? Very possible as well. How much do you trust it? I think you just got to be a profit taker. When you try to trade something like this, you just got to be a profit taker. You got to set profit goals for yourself, and you just got to take it. And you can't really worry about what happens, because inside a channel, anything can happen. You could push here and just die, right? You could get a really big push. It's a little bit, you know, there's really not much besides some previous pivot levels, sort of like this at 116, maybe this around 117. There's not much to really go off of inside of this channel. So if you do catch a demand hold, you want to be a profit taker. If you do catch a supply rejection, I would just be a profit taker with some profit targets. I would not marry these channel moves. So 112, you guys can see it. It's pretty clear, right? You can see the channel that's been formed here. You can see it trying to bounce off of it once again. Do we see Amazon off this 112 low? Do we see some upside into this channel today? That's what I would be watching. All right, that's Amazon. PayPal. So PayPal break and retest. You guys can see right here, this is something we were watching last week. You can see the previous support here, and you can see the rejection that came in. This was sort of something that I was pointing out last week in the live stream. Previous supports into rejections, right? And this is sort of a potential continuation play that I'll be watching this week. So previous support at 91, you rejected it back last week. You got some downside off of it. I think if you can break this double bottom around this 90 or this 84 area right here, I'm going to be watching this for more potential downside. So it's not quite happening yet. I would not play it just yet, but I'm going to be watching to see, does PayPal turn this previous support into a rejection, and do we get a break of this low? This is really the retest that I would want to play at this point, right? I would want to play the retest rejection of these lows. This would be my entry point on this play. I think I missed this, right? It's a little bit too, if you caught it off the rejection, this is your nice area to take profits. It's right in the middle of the channel now, so I don't really like that. But if we could see a break of this double bottom low at 83, 84, and then rejected there, that's sort of what I'm watching this week. So that's just another one that I'll be focusing on this week on PayPal. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some of these sectors. The first one that I want to show you is the XLE. This is the XLE. This is the energy sector. So stocks in this sector are stocks like XOM, CVX, Oxy, anything that is energy related is going to be in this sector. I can go ahead and show you the exact stocks and the weighting. 22% XOM, 20% CVX, and then some smaller ones, but it's mainly XOM and CVX. So watch out for those two in relation to the XLE. And you can see the XLE had this major demand around this 70-71 area. We held it here, or we rejected it here, held it here, held it here, held it here, held it here once again, and we held it once again last week. So let's see. I mean, I'm not ready to say that this continues, but you can say that the demand on the energy sector did hold. So just keep an eye on that, right? You can see the demand on the energy sector did hold around 70, 71. So keep an eye on that. XOM held, XOM held this very nicely. XOM held this 87 area very nicely. You can see right here that 87.50 held all week. Right there, 87.50 held all week. You're getting a push off of it. CVX, wow, CVX came right back down in the 140, didn't it? Yeah, look at that. So CVX came right back down into the 140 and held demand once again. Previous rejections into support, and then look at this support at 140 right here. So a little bit of a bounce on the energy sector. Keep eyes on that. See if there's continuation there. Honestly, when I look at this chart, the next play that I'd be looking for on CVX here, guys, is a rejection of 155. I would look for this. Little rejection here at 155. That could be a nice setup. Previous support lows into a rejection up here to 155. That's something I'll definitely watch. So you got your demand bounce on the XLE. How long does that hold up for? That's the question this week. If we get a bounce on these stocks, do we reject at the previous lows right here around 155 on CVX? Definitely something I would be watching. All right, XLF. So the XLF is a very important is at a very important level. Now let me show you why. I'll go to the daily chart. I'll go to where we've been sitting here. You guys can see on the daily chart, this is back from this year, 2020. Support here, support here, support here. If I bring this back even further, you guys can see this is where we were before the virus, right? This is where we were before the virus. You guys can see right here, previous rejections. We dropped off the virus. We came back into it. We rejected it. We got through. We found support at it once again here around 30, 31. And then look at what we're doing here in the last week. So you can see that we are now potentially turning this level into a rejection point. So rejection, 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 rejection. Does the XLF reject here, and do banks move lower off this rejection? Berkshire Hathaway point B, which is the smaller Berkshire Hathaway, is the largest holding. You got JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley. So I would just be watching the banks. If we reject this area on the banks, there could definitely be more downside at 30, 31. This area. I'm sorry, 30, 31, 30, 30.75, all in this 25 cent range. If there's a rejection here, this is a very major rejection of a previous very important demand level. So you can see that's going to be pretty crucial here. If we start to lose this, right, financials could start to get hit. All right, last one I want to show you, and this is probably the most concerning one on the market. This is a major flush of a major XLP level. So this is pretty clear. You can see we had support come in here at 68, support come in here at 68, support come in here at 68, and support come in here at 68. And look at the flush that we saw last week. So a pretty major flush under that support at 68 on the XLP. So if we go to the Analyze tab and we go to XLP, this is Procter & Gamble, this is Coca-Cola, this is Pepsi, this is Costco, this is Walmart. Those are your top 5. So if we go to Procter & Gamble, you can see that flushed a pretty major level here. If we go to Coca-Cola, that is flushing a pretty major level here as well. You guys can see right here, look at this flush of a pretty major level. You can see we had a previous support around this 57, and we flushed it as well. So this is definitely concerning to me. Does the XLP, the consumer staples, the sector that should be pretty resilient in this market, do we start to see that sector flush to the downside? So that is definitely a watch for me this week. I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I don't know, but it's just something that you should have on your radar. XLP, does this continue to flush to the downside? Those are some pretty important stocks that's in that sector, right? So watch that. All right, so that's what I had. That's sort of my watch for the week. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap on the NASDAQ and ES. Let's just see where they're at right now. If we go to the 30-minute chart, yeah, we are getting back towards that 11,100 area on the NASDAQ, so we're sort of continuing that bounce. And then if we're on the ES, okay, yeah, ES nice. ES back above previous week lows, so definitely keeping eyes on this. I think probably the next level to watch would be around this 3640. Right there, right? 15-minute. Next level to watch would be around this 3640. So, all right. So that's that on the futures. You're starting to get a move above the previous week lows here. And Friday's rejection point this morning. So keep an eye on that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the tickers that you guys have submitted for today, and let's see what we got on there. All right, we got a lot, so we got to go quick. We got a lot. We got Walmart, FSLR, CVX. We've sort of already looked at CVX, but Gold, Snow, Enphase, Tesla, Meta, UNH. Wow, we got a lot of here. We got to delete that. That's a duo. All right, here we go. We got to go quick. So Walmart is the number one. Walmart, what did I just talk about? The XLP weakness, right? If XLP is weak, I would look for Walmart continuation to the downside. That's if the XLP is weak. Walmart broke and retested 132. You can see that rejection right there. If you see more XLP weakness, I think you see Walmart at 126. That's if the XLP moves lower. FSLR is solar. It's been consolidating. Just watch this range. Watch to play the range. Right? If you can get a break on the solar, if you can get more positivity on the solar sector, maybe you look for a break and retest to the upside. Right? Maybe you look for that. But just keep an eye on that channel on FSLR. CVX we looked at, you're getting a bounce off energy. Watch for rejections at 155. Gold, I'm going to skip gold. I don't really look at commodities here. I'm going to skip that one. Snow, you have a wedge on snow at a major support level. This is something I was actually pointing out to the chat. So, yeah, you got your wedge here on snow. You can see right here, wedge, pretty big wedge, to be honest. So, pretty big wedge here on snow at the demand of 167. If you get market strength, I would watch that to the upside off 167. Enphase, same thing as FSLR, solar, it's stuck in a channel. Look for your channel breaks. Look for your break and retests. That's what I would look for on end phase. Tesla, we already went over. Watch 250, watch 260. Those are your major levels. Meta's a mess. But Meta did break the downtrend, right? Meta did sort of break the downtrend that it was in. It was in a very strict downtrend, and it broke out of that on Wednesday and is trying to find a new support. So if I break this down to the 15-minute, actually, you know what? I'm going to go hourly. You can see that Meta did break the downtrend that it was in right here. It was in a very strict downtrend. It broke above it and is now trying to find a new low at 135. So if Meta holds this 135, that is a higher low. So watch that 135 on Meta. That could be a nice play off that. UNH is just chilling here at this demand. It has done nothing. It's just chilling here at this 506. Keep eyes on the XLV to see what happens there. CNC, I'm not too familiar with. Centene, yeah, just a big demand low here. So watch that. You can clearly see that low. 77, 76. Support, 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 support. So watch out for that at 77. Lulu. This probably will get affected by the XLP and the XLY, which is the consumer discretionary. I think consumer discretionary is, I think Lulu is a pretty big part of that, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure. No, maybe not. But Lulu is consumer discretionary. So just see if, keep an eye on that consumer discretionary sector. Lulu could potentially, yeah, I mean, you have this demand low on Lulu around this 270. So I would probably watch for that, 270 here on Lulu. See what happens at that 270. Last but not least, mRNA. mRNA is just sort of dying. I think mRNA is a stock that just continues to die for years to come. I think mRNA was sort of just pumped up during, you know what, right? This was just a big pump. Everyone was going crazy. I think mRNA just slips and slides into eternity, basically. That's my feeling on biotechs. I don't trade biotechs. I don't know anything about what mRNA has coming, what clinical trials they have coming. I know nothing about that. So don't ask me about that. But mRNA, I just don't see it ever coming back to where it was here. Unless you see the same thing that happened in March of 2020 for us, unless that happens again to the United States and the world, I do not see mRNA ever coming back to those levels. All right. That's what I got. Hope you guys have a great day. If you could press the like button before you head out, that would really help out the channel, guys. I haven't made a video on this channel in 12 days, which is pretty crazy. It feels really weird, so I'm definitely excited to get back to some videos this week. Between traveling to New York, then the hurricane hitting, having no power, having no Wi-Fi, it's been just a disaster of a week. So I appreciate you guys sticking around to the channel. Press that like button if you could before you head out. Subscribe to the channel. And I will be here all week, so I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thanks again, guys, for the support, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.